Hi, I'm Brittany.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Katie, better known as Joyner.
We are three best friends and professionals, pediatric speech-language pathologists, and moms who try really, really hard. But we are by no means experts.
In many cases, we will be learning right along with you. The advice we offer is of a general nature and certainly does not replace the advice of a medical professional.
We hope you leave our conversation with something in your cup, whether it be laughter, new information, inspiration, a question. We hope we can fill your cup. Welcome to the Cup of Counsel podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cup of Counsel podcast, episode 6. We have now done this 6 times. Or we're about to, I guess. So this title and this episode is going to be about rejection to redemption. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But the main gist of our episode today is we're really going to talk about getting into graduate school. We were inspired today because we were asked to speak at our alma mater. So the three of us had a Zoom call today and it was really fun. So we're excited to talk about all of our journeys.
So, Amy, what is in your cup tonight?
In my actual cup, there you go.
That
it's
sounded
a Moscow
so
mule.
calming.
Yeah,
Wait, do it
I
again.
know.
Do it again for our listeners.
Oh my
For all of our
goodness.
friends out there.
It's one of those copper mugs, and I have a copper straw and ice. And it's actually a drink that Joyner told us about. It is, what is it? Crown Royale whiskey.
Apple?
It's apple flavored, and you mix it with lemonade, which sounds like a super weird combo, but it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have.
That is a good one.
That's what's in my cup.
What's in your other cup? What's in your other one?
Do you have anything in your actual cup, like for the podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, guys.
What is it?
In my actual, cup of counsel metaphorical, maybe I put too much. Did I put too much whiskey in this? You never gave me the recipe, actually. I just kind of poured it until it was full. In my metaphorical cup is perseverance, because we're going to each talk about our stories tonight about getting, the process to apply to grad school, the waiting, the decision-making or the rejection, acceptance, all of those pieces. So in my cup is perseverance because that's part of my specific story.
And we are going to talk about our personal journeys, which is obviously speech language pathology graduate programs. But I really think what we're talking about tonight could pertain to any program, higher education, and really anything in general that you're putting yourself out there. You're in a position for someone or some people to decide if you are going to be allowed to continue that dream of yours.
Okay. So Amy had quite a crazy road to graduate school. Do you want to start with that tonight, Amy?
Sure, I can talk about that. So I covered my undergraduate road, which was also a little bit bumpy to figuring out what I wanted to major in. I covered that in episode 3, our Picking a Path episode. But tonight I just want to talk about graduate school. So when I graduated from my undergrad program, I did what most people do and I applied to a bunch of schools. And of course, it's so long ago now, I don't even remember how many, but I did not get accepted to any of those. So I feel like I wasn't super prepared for that. I feel like my undergraduate program maybe didn't talk about that a whole lot. So I just had this expectation, of course I'm going to get in somewhere. So I didn't even have a backup plan in my mind at all. But I just remember being very what? I didn't think that it was even an option,
To not get in?
To not get in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for people who don't know this, you have to have a master's degree to be a speech language pathologist. We can't practice with just a bachelor's degree. So when you decide as an undergrad, that's what you want to do, you go into it knowing my future career completely depends on if I get into graduate school and if I finish my master's degree. We really can't do much, with the exception of a few states, allow speech language pathology assistants, but that's not in every state. So for example, I live in Ohio and we don't have those. So if I would not have gotten into grad school, I don't know what I would have done. There's not much you can do with our undergrad degree. I mean, there's a few things, but you can't be a speech therapist. So it's completely dependent on you getting into graduate school. So it's kind of like, yep, you get this as an undergrad degree, go apply. And if you want to do that profession, you have to get a
someone
master's.
Someone has to let you in to do what you want to do. Yeah. I've never thought about it like that.
Like it's all up to somebody else to decide if you're good enough to do this job or not. So I was not good enough that first time around. And I just felt like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Like I have these student loans that need to be paid. What am I supposed to do? So I actually decided to just keep going to school as an undergrad. And I got a minor in 1 year. I did a minor in gerontology because at the time I was like, oh, maybe when I'm an SLP, I'll want to work in long-term care or something like that. And it related, and it was fewer credits than like a special education minor. So that was my decision I made. So I went for a whole nother year of undergrad, accrued more student loan debt, and didn't really have an income. But so I did that. I applied again, and I applied to more schools the next time. I took the GRE again, got the same score that I got the first time.
I forgot about the GRE. Oh my gosh.
And the GRE, for those who don't know, is a admission assessment that we have to take. It's not just for speech therapy. It's for a lot of different areas that want to apply to graduate school. But it's an assessment that you have to take. Not all schools require it. When I applied, a majority of them required you to take the GRE. And it's not a speech therapy specific assessment. It's like math and verbal reasoning and things that...
It's like the ACT for graduate school.
It's like the big sister, big brother of the ACT, SAT. So that's what the GRE is.
Thank you. Joyner is the local dictionary tonight, or the Wikipedia of this episode.
You're welcome.
So I did all of that. I took the GRE again. I applied to more schools, and I, again, did not get accepted anywhere. And I could not keep going to school for random minors and accruing more student loan debt. So then after I did not get in a second time, I was looking for any job that I could do. And at that point in time in Minnesota, there was not an SLPA license or program. So that wasn't an option for me. But I did find out that if a school district in Minnesota was unable to find a fully licensed SLP, that they could hire somebody without their master's degree on a variance. So like on a 1 year basis. But then the terms were like at the end of that contract, they had to post again to try to find a fully licensed SLP. So in taking that position at this little school district, I knew that it was going to come to an end at some point. So while I was working in this school district with a limited license, I reapplied to grad school again to multiple schools, and then found out in the spring that I, again, did not get accepted to any of those programs. And then shortly after I got all of my letters back from places saying that I was rejected again, I also found out that my school district was able to find a licensed SLP to fill my position for the next school year. So after I found out in a span of like 2 to 3 weeks that I was not getting into grad school again for a third time, and that I also was not going to have a job the next year, which I knew was a possibility, and it was in the back of my mind, but I think I had just like gone through a little bit of trauma, not getting accepted again for, the third year in a row, that I wasn't really focused on if I was going to have a job or not. And so I didn't have a job. And so I like frantically searched the ASHA website.
Which ASHA stands for the American Speech Language Hearing Association. They are the body that is over our career. They are the governing and licensing body of the speech and language pathologists.
And audiologists.
And audiologists, yes.
Thank you, Joynopedia.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the ASHA website and I just searched. They have a guide on there for graduate programs, and you can sort by, location and if they look at the GRE score or not, and all sorts of things, what type of a program they are. You can search many different ways. And I searched for those that had rolling admissions. So that would mean like they don't have a cutoff date for their application window, and they are constantly, you can apply at any point as long as they have, spots available. And so I was looking for any school that was still accepting applications because it was pretty late in the game. It was like end of April, early May, somewhere around there that I found all of this out. And I was then like Google mapping, like how far all these places were from where I lived to try to see if there were any that were close. And I found this one in Missouri that was only 6 hours from my parents' house, a 6-hour drive from Minnesota to this tiny little school in Missouri. And I emailed the director of the program immediately. And she was like, yes, we actually still have spaces. And I got all my stuff in and was accepted. So in the span of a month, I went from not getting accepted into several grad programs for the third year in a row to finding out I didn't have a job to suddenly I'm moving to Missouri. So that's what my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, we moved to Missouri towards the end of the summer. And yeah, they took a chance on me. And I am so grateful for all of those bumps, which at the time they were terrible and awful. And it really impacted my self-esteem and questioned, like, is this what I need? Is this what I'm going to do with my life? Like, is this really the career path? Maybe this is a sign, I mean, this girl's had like 4 chances now to get in. And like, maybe this universe was giving me a sign that this was not the correct path, but I just kept going because I was pretty passionate about it. And I knew it was the right fit for me. And
then you ended the career with the Outstanding Clinician Award.
Right. That's the redemption part of this story, right? Is that all of these rejections. And then at the end of our graduate school experience, I was presented with the Outstanding Clinician Award, which I proudly display on a shirt that I wear to every appointment that I have with no, I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh my God, you
do?
It's on the
I
back
believed
of
you.
my...
I really believed
I did too. I was like, oh God, okay.
I don't know what's worse, that I believed you or that
and I think
it exists, I guess.
Brittany and I could both attest to, we went to graduate school with her. And I remember the first time she told me that this was the fourth time she applied to grad school. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, you for 3 years got denied and then kept trying and you're here. And it was shocking to me too, because she really was a good clinician. She was actually really good at it. I got to be on the evaluation team with you.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of when we became pretty good friends. And I remember just thinking, like, I cannot believe that it took you 4 tries to get into graduate school. But I think that just says so much about your perseverance and really sticking to something that you knew you wanted to do and not giving up. And then, yeah, by golly, she got that Outstanding Clinician Award out of all of us by the end of our graduate school career.
So I think my message to people who are probably at this time getting letters or waiting for letters from different master's programs to just, it's really easy for me to say this because I'm on the other side of it now. And I know in the moment it's terrible, believe me. But all of the little things that are about to come your way are going to make you a better person, a stronger person, a better clinician if you decide to continue on this path and try, because some of you will not get in and you'll have to think of a plan B. And maybe you already have thought of a plan B. Maybe you're a better planner than I was, but I had to come up with a plan B several times. And I would have never guessed that I would have had to think of all those extra things to do to pass the time between applying again. So yeah, I'm here as a testament to, if this is really what you want to do, keep trying. Don't count out all your options. I would have never thought of moving to a random town in Missouri to do this, but it ended up being the best experience.
It just says so much about your character. I don't even know if I would have stuck with it. I maybe I would have, but I think that says a lot to just keep pushing that many times and saying like, nope, I'm going to do it. Nope, I'm going to do it. And you did.
I don't know at what point I would have stopped. Is it like a
12,
cat with like
13?
9 lives?
I don't have quite a story from my graduate school experience, but I do remember getting really mad because one school just never wrote back to me. And I like talked about that school all the time and I told people about it. And then when I moved out of state, I was cleaning out my car and under my seat, I found the big envelope because we had to mail in. I'm not sure how students do it now, probably digitally. But I remember how we mailed in all of our applications and I found the giant envelope under the seat of my car that I just forgot to mail in, or I had it and just it slipped under the seat or something. So, gosh,
I feel like I would have mailed it in and been like, can you just look it over and let me know if you would have let me in? Just so I know.
3
2
years later.
ago, would you have let me in? I'm like a licensed SLP now, but would you have let me in? So
would you have
I think
taken
that's
a
pretty
chance
funny.
on me?
Yeah, and my quick story about that is I applied, I think, to 6 and I only got into 1. And it was the same school that I did undergrad at. So it was really fun to be able to stay in the same place because I have so many memories now in that town. But my story is definitely quite the opposite of Amy's.
And it's so frustrating. It's not the opposite, though, because you got denied by so many schools, and that would be so frustrating.
Well, you had a good point, too. Like you guys both said, you have to get your master's. So you just think, okay, after my undergrad, I go to graduate school and then I get my degree. Yeah, but they're in the middle of what you like want to go figure out and do, someone has to tell you again. Same with your fellowship, your CF year. You have to finish that appropriately. So
it's all up to somebody else. And it's all up to like the pool of people you're also applying with, like things that are completely out of your control. Like
which I think is really tough right now. I think it's growing, hugely growing field. So
it is. And it blows my mind, just as I said about Amy, like to think you got rejected by 6 schools, it blows my mind because you are such a great clinician that I'm like, I guess my point is with students applying now, I personally am the type of person that would probably take it very personally. And it really like you're putting yourself on paper, but in some cases probably really does matter, but like I bombed my GRE score. I did terrible. And I can promise you that does not at all explain the kind of clinician I am. Like I think I'm pretty good at my job and I very much enjoy it. And I guess hearing both of your stories, I'm like, individuals who are getting rejection letters currently, I just want them to know that that's not any future predictor of what kind of clinician you're possibly going to be. It just isn't. And I can tell you with Brittany saying she got denied by 6 schools and Amy getting denied for 3 straight years, I just think that it just is not a predictor at all of what kind of clinicians you are now. And I think that that's a really important message for people who maybe are getting those rejection letters.
I think that's the part that's super frustrating because it is, you can only do so much. Like my GPA was not terrible and my GRE score was not the greatest, but I had like volunteered and done all these, every single thing they tell you to do to beef up your application. Like I had done all of that. And so it was just like, this is not in my control. Like I've done all of the things that I could possibly control and do to give myself the best chance. And it still, was up to somebody else.
And I think that that's such a message, not just for speech pathology, but for any area of life. Just because it's not working out currently, that does not predict what kind of person you are or what kind of performance you're going to do later. So my experience is a little bit different. I went to a very large, well-known undergrad program, applied to that program and was accepted. And I was planning to go there. And then my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, got accepted to another school out in Missouri. So we were going to do long distance. And then I found out very randomly when he was on a visit there that there was a liberal arts school right next to his school. And it only had a few graduate programs and speech pathology happened to be one of them. So I threw my application in and got accepted, was comfortable at my larger university and I was already accepted and told them I was going there. And then I decided to take a chance. I decided that why not experience a new school? Why not experience a new state? Why not go out of my comfort zone and move and try something different. So I told my large university I was actually not going to be attending. And I went to this very small school instead that was in a state that I had never even visited, I don't believe, and took a chance. And I went there, and I have never regretted that decision. I feel like I got a great experience, met people that I feel so blessed to have met, and got a really great education. So I guess my story is more of, take a chance, even if it seems scary and even if it seems like something you maybe typically wouldn't do. Go ahead and try to take a chance and go outside your comfort zone.
Can I, before you do that, can I say one thing? Is serendipity what I'm going for? I think so.
Serendipitous?
I'm trying to think of how to word this with Crown Royale in my blood.
I don't know how it happened. You just like flipped a switch.
Yeah, I did. Okay, I'm going to get mushy here for a second, ladies.
You never get mushy.
I know, you really don't. This is exciting.
I don't like to get mushy much, but think about my own experience and how like my life could have gone so many different ways, and I could have ended up somewhere different and not at our grad program and not meeting you two. But then now after hearing Brittany's story and Joyner's story, like, what if Brittany would have mailed that envelope under her car seat? Like, she could have gotten into that program and gone there.
I love that. That gave me chills.
I know. Oh, God. Like, what if Joyner would have decided I need to stay where I'm comfortable at this huge school that has a great reputation, and we're just going to do the long distance thing and work it out. It's only a couple of years, and I'm going to stay where I have friends and where I know the professors. And what if I wouldn't have got rejected, that many times? Like, we might not be doing this.
There would be no podcast right now.
There'd be no podcast. There'd be no counsel. There'd be no this. So, I mean, I've thought about that often for myself. Gosh, this was meant to be, all these things happened because I was meant to be at this specific place at this point in time. But I hadn't like really thought about you guys and having, those other potential roads that you could have gone down. So
it is so true. I love the thought of that envelope. I feel like that's like a movie scene because, my other school, my large school, was a great one. And I had great friends there and still am friends with great people from there. But it is crazy that I finally just was like, you know what? I'm just going to take that chance. And it's crazy that envelope that Brittany never mailed. And you're so, I like that. What if that would have changed everything?
Now I'm done. You're not going to get any more emotional things from me.
I'll take it. That was a good one.
For the rest of the year.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
For the rest of the year.
Until she drinks some more Crown Royal.
Yeah, right.
This episode is brought to you by
Crown Royal.
So, guys, I found this really cool thing that I think we should mention.
All right, Joynopedia.
This is, I'm all into the research tonight for some reason and the explanations. So this is Communication Sciences and Disorders Education Trend Data. It was actually posted on ASHA. So I feel like it is a good source. And what I wanted to talk about and what this told me is about the percentage of applicants who are actually accepted into their program. I feel like this actually would be comforting. I was shocked when I read this, but I feel like this could be comforting to some people. So the percent of applicants approved for admission, for speech and language pathology master's programs averaged 21.3% between 2010 to 2011. 21%. I was shocked by that. Amy and Brittany you guys thought that's pretty accurate.
I was like, oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wow, that's it. And for 2000, that's the average for 2010 to 2011 and 2018 to 2019 was ranging from 15.7% in 2012 to 2013 to 34.6% in the most recent academic year of 2018 to 2019 . So guys,
34% of people who apply get in to a graduate program.
In 2018 to 2019. Okay. Yeah. 34%.
And when we did, it was 21% when we did about 10 years ago.
Well, no. Yes, that's right. And then it was even lower than that, ranging from 15.7% in 2012 to 2013. So, I mean, 15% of people who apply actually get in the year 2012. The highest was the most recent that they did this study, 2018 to 2019, and that was only 34.6%.
So there are, what's the math here? Like 70 or 65%.
We're SLPs. We don't do math.
I'm like,
No,
what's
I don't
the
know
math
that.
here? So like almost 70% of, there's like somewhere out there, 70% of students who do not get into grad school and now have an undergraduate degree that they, depending on what state they live in, may not really be able to do anything related with.
Now, granted, they may have gotten denials from multiple schools and then acceptance from another one.
Sure.
But overall, that was the acceptance from particular programs was the highest, 34%, and the lowest, 15% acceptance.
So I think that kind of wraps it up. Brittany, what is in your to-go cup?
In my to-go cup is the wine I didn't talk about earlier. Just a teeny bit left now. But guys, I'm just going to say the word again, perseverance. I feel like we've said it 100 times this episode. Not only perseverance to get into graduate school, but what I always tell my students or just fellow colleagues who are trying to get a certain job placement or training in a certain area, just keep on trucking. Push to get those CEUs, continuing education units that you want, and push to get what you want out of this field because there are a lot of areas, and never give up.
I think that's a wrap. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you liked what you heard, please hit subscribe or follow so you know each time a new episode is posted.
Please do us a giant favor and join our Facebook group and follow our Instagram page, Cup of Counsel Podcast. A review would really help us out too.
Let us know what you loved, what you want to hear more about, and what we could do to improve this podcast to make it the most meaningful for you. Thank you.